Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Future of Marketing in APAC session, which we are hosting with our partners, TikTok. I'm here today with Samir Singh, Head of Global Business Solutions at TikTok. It's good to see you, Sam.
Hey, thanks, Ashu, and it's good to see you as well. As our first global agency partner, WPP and the brands that you work with are at the center and forefront of innovation on TikTok. In only a few years since we launched, we've achieved over 1 billion monthly active users, the fastest growth of any platform. As we've achieved this global scale, it is partners like WPP and Group M that have been critical to our success. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you here today.
I'm really excited about today's session and to share a view into the WPP TikTok partnership. As TikTok continues to scale their reach and importance in the lives of the consumers, the platform is enabling exactly the kind of creative transformation that we at WPP are so passionate about. And that is what is driving our clients' growth. To fuel that growth, we focused our partnership in 3 areas. The first one is creator marketing, where our in-car team has co-developed the API with TikTok to give WPP access to unique functionality and more data, which results in better decisions, simplified workflows, and a brand-safe environment for the brands on the platform. The second is the innovative formats, in particular AR and VR, where our Subversive team are leading the charge on creating more immersive experiences for brands on TikTok. We've already seen some amazing work coming out for brands like Gillette and Epic Games, and are so excited to share some of that with you today and to keep pushing and exploring these new formats. And of course, on the third one, the quality creative and content, where our Hogarth teams have been working with TikTok to build out best-in-class production capabilities that are really designed to fit the needs and the speed of this platform. For today, of course, we are really focused on what all this means for the future of marketing in APAC and for brand growth in the region. TikTok is having grown out of China, and with such strong adoption in the region, it's really, really exciting to be working with you in this part of the world, Sam.
Likewise, Ashu. At TikTok, users come for the creativity, they stay for the content, and leave feeling happy and inspired. People love the positive experience that our platform provides, so they scroll longer and dive deeper. In fact, 7 of every 10 people who visit TikTok, come when they want to feel joy. It is this unique ability to inspire creativity and bring joy that makes us so excited to partner with WPP to drive creative transformation for your clients. We are proud of the progress that we've already made, working with so many of your agencies to deliver full funnel solutions to leaned in audiences that deliver an awesome ROI. And we have a few noteworthy examples here. For Colgate, across Southeast Asia, we launched a World Smile Day activation that generated billions of video views, leveraging gamified effects to drive millions of video uploads. In Australia, the work that we are doing together with Nike is defining best practice to empower the youth to use sport as a vehicle to create meaningful change. Japan and Korea are becoming TikTok innovation hubs for WPP clients in technology and luxury. L'Oreal really is at the forefront across the region, from Southeast Asia to Australia. They are leading the way in effective, always-on investment, creator marketing, live stream, and social commerce. While this is amazing work, we are really just getting started. In just a couple of years, TikTok has grown to over 240 million monthly active users just here in Southeast Asia, a region that saw 85% user growth, since last year.
Right.
Finally, WPP is driving creative transformation with TikTok as your client. As a creative partner on TikTok's own Songkern Stranger brand campaign, Wonderment Thompson helped make TikTok a core part of festive celebrations during a time when people were at home due to COVID, creating an interactive storyline that leveraged some of the most innovative features on our platform, becoming one of the most talked about Songkern campaigns ever. So we see a future of marketing where entertainment, advertising, and commerce are colliding. And we're excited to be creating this future with WPP and your clients in Asia Pacific.
It's really fantastic, Sam, to see all the results being delivered for the brands by us together. And this is, I think, just the start. We've got a packed agenda today where you'll be hearing from many of the creative leaders and the innovators from both WPP and TikTok, who would be sharing how brands can position themselves successfully to push creative boundaries even more on this platform, connect with the consumers, and of course, drive impact and commerce.
Working together as WPP and TikTok, we look forward to doing great things in 2022 and beyond. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining the event. We will now hand it over to Carl and Christina to kick off the event and run through the agenda in a bit more detail.
Thank you, Ashutosh and Sam, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in this morning. It's brilliant to see that so many of you were able to join us for our Future of Marketing event live here in the studio this morning. For those who don't know me, I'm Christina Payton. I'm VP for Marketing and Growth at WPP, and I'm very excited to be here this morning with my fellow co-host, Carl Kluck from TikTok.
Thanks, Christina. I'm Carl Kluck, and I'm the head of the global agency team for APAC at TikTok. It's a perfect time to be talking about the future together as we all emerge from the pandemic, look forward into 2022, and celebrate some amazing successes by both TikTok, who recently surpassed over 1 billion users globally, and also WPP, who just won the largest integrated media and creative pitch ever. Congrats on such an incredible win.
Thank you, Carl. Yes, we're absolutely thrilled, and we couldn't ask for better of end-of-year news, winning the Coca-Cola pitch globally. But today we're here to obviously be talking about the fact that we're hosting for the first time this partnership event with you guys here in the region. We planned a really exciting agenda, which is jam-packed, where you're going to be hearing from some of the most inspirational leaders, creative leaders here in the region. So we split the agenda into 3 tracks, spanning across consumer trends, creativity, and social commerce. But I'll let Carl give you some of those details.
Thank you. First up, we'll be discussing the future of influencing consumers, where we have our panelist, Samuel Vanel, who's the head of Inc. in Southeast Asia. He's joined by Justin Kay, TikTok's Creator Marketing Solutions lead here in APAC, and the creator Mingwei Ng. Mingwei is one of the region's most exciting young TikTokers with over 20 million followers. This session is moderated by Sana Britzman, Agency Activation Manager at TikTok.
And then we're going to be moving on to discussing the connection through creativity, where we have Andrienne Leclerc, who heads up social and performance for Ogilvy here in APAC. She's going to be joining us virtually from Hong Kong, and so is Thason Boniat, or Pete, to make it a little bit easier. Pete is the Executive Creative Director for Wunderman Thompson in Thailand. But here with us in the studio, we have Valerie Madden, who's the Chief Creative Officer for VMLY&R, who's joining us here in person, along with our lovely moderator, Charlotte McKellany, from the APAC editor for The Drum.
Last but not certainly least, we have Ashutosh Srivastava, CEO, Group M APAC, who's hosting Vismay Sharma, President of South Asia Pacific, Middle East, and North Africa for L'Oreal, in a fireside chat here in the studio. They'll be discussing the future of social commerce. Each of the sections will allow for you to ask the speakers questions, so please do post your questions for the speakers directly in the live chat. We want to try to make this as interactive as we can. The moderators will do their very best to answer as many questions as possible. So before we hand it over to Sana Britzman, who's moderating the consumer panel, we wanted to show you a short TikTok showcasing a day in the life of one of our creators. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, Mingwei. What a great video.
Thank you.
Welcome to our first panel, The Future of Influencing Consumers. For billions of people in APAC, the pandemic accelerated the shift to more fully virtual lives. Our primary source of interaction and influence is now online, exacerbating the impact that influencers or creators on TikTok have on their audiences. This presents a vibrant opportunity for brands to engage creators in new ways, like driving audience participation, engagement, and emotional connection. So in this session, we'll discuss how the nature of creator marketing and its influence is evolving in APAC. So we just watched a video of a day in the life of TikTok creator Mingwei Rocks. He's here with me today in the studio, along with Justin Kay, Head of Creator Marketing Solutions at TikTok. And on the line, we have Samuel Vanel, Head of Group M's Inca for Southeast Asia. Welcome to all the panelists.
Thank you so much.
So I'd like to start off by asking you, Mingwei, since the pandemic started, you've grown your TikTok following to over 20 million followers. How do you actually keep them engaged?
Also, there's two ways I try to keep my viewers engaged, because I think that's the problem of all the creators. Like, how can they sustain like people to keep coming back for their content? So the first way is to reply to comments, like keep them engaged through the comment section. And the second way is taking their comments into consideration. So for example, if they comment something, I will try to use that in my next video idea, so they feel that they're being valued.
So essentially you're involving them in your creative process.
Yep.
And that's perhaps something that brands can learn from creators. Let's take a step back and talk about the differences between content that's from creators and content that's from brands. Justin, let's start with you. How do you think consumers perceive those two types of content differently?
Yeah, I think first to answer that question, let's start by acknowledging that it's been a very unprecedented 2 years. I think the last couple of years with the pandemic, that's completely changed the way that we lived, the way that we work, the way that we connect with our families and friends, and the way that we shop and buy. Truly, now online shopping is our new normal. And in the midst of all of these changing uncertainties and restrictions, we are seeing that consumers are increasingly shifting towards creative, joyful, authentic experiences that connects them to their communities and to the world. For me, this is a shift towards authenticity. And for brands and marketers, authenticity matters. For me, I call it humanizing your brand, your product, your messages, and your solutions. And there's no better way to inject authenticity and entertainment into your brand marketing campaigns than to work with creators. Creators like Mingwei, who knows our platform the best and how to connect with their communities and their audience. And it works because we have seen that brands who have found success on TikTok are those that have leaned into and emulating creators, rather than just talking at creators, which is what some brands might do on other platforms. On TikTok and on platforms that we see where we see creators flourish, it's really about creating authentic, compelling content that connects them to their communities. And we know from data that this works better. We know that creator-driven content and ad creatives perform nearly 2 times better than non-native ads in terms of driving engagements as well as view-through rates.
Thank you for sharing that. Samuel, you obviously work with lots of different brands on how to best collaborate with creators. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think I quite agree with Justin. I think there's authenticity of creators, and the fact they have audience is a key solution. If I have to answer the question on why creators involving a brand works better than an ad, I would say there is 2 elements. The first one is really obvious. It's about engagement. So consumer, when they go on their social media, they just don't want to see ads. They are here to consume content. So it's only natural that content from the content creators will engage better. I mean, that the consumer will take more time and engage better with this content. And the second element is trust. There's been several surveys to measure how basically an influencer has generate more trust in a brand, but it's really common sense. Consumer will trust more content from a recognizable individual than a content that is coming from a brand. And it's actually something we measured in Southeast Asia. We ran a Brandly study on a product launch to compare impact of an ad versus content creators. So we had different audience exposed to similar content. I mean, content from creators and ads on a similar format on the same channel. And we confirmed that engagement time spent was 2 times higher creator content and an ad. But what was more interesting is that we also saw an increase of 2 times on the purchase intent on content, on creator content, which confirm the previous studies or the international studies or survey that we've seen around on this topic.
Thank you. I think it's really interesting to hear that creator marketing has actually been proven to be so effective. So if we know what creators do, can we speak a little bit about how brands should use them? Where do you think creators fit into an advertiser's marketing mix? Ming-Wei, do you want to share your thoughts first?
Oh yeah, so I think there's 2 ways here. So one is to tap on the creator's reach, because the creator has an audience that the brands are not able to reach. So, or rather the creator has already built an audience around it. So by working with creators, you can tap on their reach, and that can actually save a lot of marketing efforts. So number 2 is to tap onto the creator's creative mindset. So the reason why you really engage the creators is because that they're already known for being creative in whatever they do. So you can actually work with many creators with many creative minds, and for one brand you can come up with many creative concepts and not just following one direction of the brand like identity. Yeah.
So it's almost like having several creative consultants.
Yep.
Cool. Samuel, would you like to add?
No, I think it's right. I mean, it's really becoming more like having plenty of creative consultants for the brand, right? But how you have the best successful partnership between the brand and the creators is really 3 points, which is relevance, resonance, authenticity. So it's really about relevance, really about choosing the right creators, right audience, right voice for the brand, and that's usually today best done using technology to discover, identify which pool of influencer would work best for the brand. Resonance, it's really about creating content that will engage with the audience, and I think that's where we have the power of those influencers. We really know what content will resonate the best with their audience, and that's where sometimes creative freedom is really important. And the last is authenticity, where ideal situation is that influencer is a true advocate of your brand, right? This is sometimes the most difficult to achieve because influencers have been used often very tactically, and we see now this change where we try to move to long-term partnership with influencer to reach more authenticity in the content.
Thank you for that. Justin, would you like to add from a TikTok perspective, where do creators really fit into a marketing mix?
I think the panel has really touched on a couple of really key points. I really agree on having creative freedom for creators. I think just to add on one point here, it's traditionally with influencer and creator marketing, we have always seen creators and influencers being parked within the engagement bucket of a media plan. But increasingly what we are seeing on TikTok is that's changing. And with TikTok creators, brands really should be thinking about creators across the entire funnel that includes discoverability, education, and even in terms of purchase and installs. So I think that's a changing dynamic that we're seeing increasingly.
So what I'm hearing is that basically creators can be deployed to meet a range of objectives along the consumer journey.
That's right.
Would you be able to share some really successful creator brand collaborations, or more broadly, what in general makes such a collaboration successful? Let's hear from you first as a creator yourself, Ming-Wei.
Oh, okay, thank you. So as the panelists have mentioned, creative freedom is one of the key points. So actually my most successful brand collaboration is when they give me the creative freedom to do what I want, to mix into my type of content. So I don't really have to make much changes to my current content strategy to do that video or like advertisement. So creative freedom is very important. Yeah.
And do you find that brands are often willing to give you that creative freedom, or do you have to give a bit of a push?
So I think the key point is to find the right balance between having a creative freedom and yet trying to put the brand message in. So it's taking some time. Like last time, people are so not used to it, but in recent times, people are getting more and more willing to give the creators a bit more creative freedom. Yeah,
that's cool. Justin, do you want to share any TikTok examples or thoughts?
Yes, one of the very recent examples that I've come across was with Maybelline in the Philippines, where they were looking to relaunch their tattoo brow ink pen. And their main objective was to drive online traffic to marketplaces in the Philippines with the intent to drive online purchases and sales. And so what they did was turn to the communities on TikTok, and that's a very powerful community that is highly engaged. And specifically, they turned to the beauty community on TikTok, and they worked with 6 creators who are well known in the beauty space. And these creators created short-form, engaging, compelling content that actually showed a daily, day-to-day example of how they would use the tattoo browing pen, how easy it was. So it's all about product demos. And that's actually one of the things that we're learning on TikTok, is that consumers are coming to TikTok to learn about new things, to learn about how to use a tool, how to use a product. And when you combine that in the native, engaging element of creators in the community, you drive a lot of impact. And specifically for this campaign, I believe they more than 7 times increased their KPIs that were expected. And they saw, I think, nearly 300% reduction in the cost per lead to these online marketplaces. So that for me was a very memorable use of native organic content.
Yeah, that's some impressive results.
Yeah, it is.
Let's spend a couple minutes talking about the future. Samuel, I'd love to hear from you first. What do you think the future of creator marketing looks like here in APAC?
I think some of the elements we cover. Basically, we're saying that to look for more authentic relationship and maybe more open creativity, brands are going to try to move from tactical relationship to more long-term relationship with influencers. That's one trend. The second, I think, is that we're going to see better integration of creators within the brand content strategy. I mean, we'll be seeing more of this content being co-created. And the last one would be distribution of content. So as brands go and buy more and more content from influencers, they will try to integrate and optimize distribution of this content and merge the basically all this content acquisition and creation with their media strategy. So we'll see those content being not only distributed organically, but also used for their social media or potentially as an ad as well.
Thank you.
I think that's 3, yeah.
Mingwei, what do you think?
So for me, I feel that the future of content creation, I think one of the key points that I'm looking towards now is also live streaming. So live streaming is a very good way to engage with your fans, like real time, where they can actually interact with you, other than your content, replying to comments, that's like in real time. So for me, I feel that in the future, more and more creators will turn to like live stream selling, because there's a very like diversifying their income to get more revenue. And also through live stream selling, there's so-called like a social aspect where they can interact with them and answer any questions they have about the products. Rather than just watching a video, they can actually ask about their doubts and any questions about product, and actually that will drive a lot more purchase. Yeah.
And that's how you enable that audience participation, right?
Yep.
Justin, any thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I have 2 thoughts on this. One very related to what Ming just shared around live stream. So the first point is around commerce. I'm really excited about the future of commerce in Asia. Particularly, we live right at the center of shopping and online shopping, and the role that TikTok has to play in that. In fact, one of the recent phenomena that we saw recently was the TikTok made me buy it phenomenon, which saw products all over the world fly off their shelves and get more than 6.9 billion views on the platform. And that is driven by community commerce, which is really creator-driven word-of-mouth marketing, which works because it's not about hard sell, as what we see in other platforms. It's really about creating organic, authentic, and entertaining content in which it just happens to feature a product or a brand.
Right.
So it's not so in your face. And the second is about simplification. Today we know that the whole discipline of creator marketing is complex. There are many steps in between. And where we and even our partners like Inca are investing into is really making the future of creator marketing a lot more simple to execute. And this is where we have invested into a suite of solutions that includes the TikTok Creator Marketplace, which hopes to simplify brand collaborations with creators, make it easy for brands to discover and search for creators, make it easy for them to manage the collaborations, receive detailed insights, and also boost the branded content into our advertising solutions like Spark Ads. So these are two of the key trends that we are starting to see now moving to the future.
Thank you for sharing that. We do have a couple of minutes to take some questions from the audience. So the first question is this: how are TikTok creators different than those on Instagram or YouTube, especially given the growing sensitivity that consumers have around influencers and their paid collaborations? Let's start with you, Mingwei, perhaps. Do you have any thoughts on how TikTok creators like yourself are different from those on other platforms?
Yeah, of course, I feel that as compared to other platforms, TikTok focus on making video that embraces authenticity. So of course, the ads make are less ad-ish and more like more content-based. While on other platforms, I still see like it's quite a lot of hard selling, like, hey, you got to buy this product, or like it's really like in your face. So that's the main difference then.
I think authenticity has come up a few times as really a key to success within creator marketing. Samuel, would you like to add anything to that point?
No, sorry. No, not really. I mean, sorry, I didn't catch your question. You might
if you see any key differences between creators on TikTok versus those on Instagram or YouTube or other platforms.
I mean, the difference is not necessarily on the creator itself. It's the channel is reacting completely different than other channel. I mean, what we see on Instagram is a channel for brands. On the way you use this channel is really a question of followers. So the way we've been working on Instagram is that we're looking on choosing influencers that have the right audience and the right numbers of followers to reach. On TikTok, it's a completely different mechanism. It's about the content. So it is really changing the way you have to plan your content marketing on TikTok, because we need to use basically we need to really think about what content we create more than what influencer we will select, and that's really a big change on how we plan on this channel. I think we've seen this challenge today of applying the same recipes we had of on Instagram, on TikTok, and that has not been working. So this is main changes, main differences. Instagram is the planning was really on followers, and in TikTok is more content first. So it's really key to find the right content that is resonating and working for the audience. Otherwise, you will never achieve any performance on this channel. So authenticity will be one of the key of the success, as Mingwei was mentioning.
Thank you for sharing that. I think you're really right. TikTok does require a different approach, and it's focused on the content quality. We're now going to move on to our next session, but thank you so much, all the panelists, for being here today and sharing your points of views. And now I'll hand it over to our next moderator, Charlotte McCallany, for the panel on creativity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, and first off, thanks so much to WPP and TikTok for having me. I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming Andrea, Pete, and Valerie today. These brilliant creative talents work across the region, and they're here to talk about the future of connection through creativity. As the video you watched showed, our panelists very much have some skin in the game when it comes to creating content and producing amazing creative for audiences across TikTok. And I have a handful of questions ready to ask, but please do share your questions in the chat box, and we'll try to get round to answering as many as we can in the short time we have. So my first question is, please can you share any tips about how best to use TikTok to build brands? What works, what doesn't work? And Valerie, I'll go for you first.
Okay. I think one of the key things is in any kind of platform is really to take inspiration from what's actually working there. I mean, a lot of people are already creating very successful content, but I would say is don't just copy, right? Do it with another creative spin. Bring something surprising, because only then you're gonna get exponential sharing with friends, because it's something really delightful, right? Versus just doing everything that people has done before. Like, if yes, challenges work, but how does a brand do it differently? Do it in a fresh way that no one has seen before, and inspire other people to actually want to copy you. And I think that's the key thing that I would push ourselves as creative agencies with our brands to really think of something really cool and innovative, on a platform that it's already working. And maybe sometimes even using the new tools that they have. Be the first to use the filters, the way people use songs on the platform. Be the first.
I love that. So no copycatting. Try and be fresh. Andrea, same question to you. What do you think about how do you build brands? What's the best ways?
Well, so there's so many features that's available on TikTok, and they all have their superpowers. If you think, of doing a live stream, you can play with people, sentiment of fear of missing out, it's now, it's live, don't miss this. Or if you try to, work with the gaming filters, so people feel thrilled about something. So I feel like any kind of features can bring a different experiences and emotion as well, or whatever it's music, like Valerie was saying. So think about each feature, what it brings. Do you need a creator there? So it's such a rich platform, and there's so many possibilities. So I think that's what's really magical about it.
Love that. Pete, same to you. What do you think?
I was thinking because Adrian and Wow already talk about the features of the TikTok, but I was thinking TikTok is a place where people want to jump in and be a part of it. Like if your campaign has a potential entertainment or some value for them to be famed, they will write on it for sure. So the stickers, the duets, the stitches is what they already keen on. So I mean, if I can suggest TikTok to use a brand, so we need to make the campaign fun and entertainment, so people would want to be a part of it.
Yeah, people have some skin in the game,
Yeah.
Exactly. My next question is just to take some examples of where you've used TikTok and it's yielded great campaign results. Pete, I'm going to go to you first, because I know for a fact you won a Drum Award recently for your work for TikTok. So I'd love to hear a bit more about that.
Okay, thank you so much that giving us the best of the show for the drums. So we are submitting the Songkran Stranger, where we start from the tension where Songkran is the holiday where Thai is dreaming of, and it is the longest holiday of us, but it has been canceled for 2 years. And so we think about there must be some potential where we can put the TikTok entertainment to lift up the spirit of the Thai back to life, which is why we creating this interactive films. We changing duets and stitches to be a door for an audience to jump in and be a part of a cast. So everyone feels free to be an actor and actress in this film while using duet and stitches. And not just that, in the film itself, we bring Songkran spirit inside the film, water splashing, powder paddling, and we also using a Thai celebrity, Mario Mauler, as a main magnet, and after that the result went amazing.
Yeah, what I loved about that campaign was that it felt really authentic and true to the platform, but actually it was quite high production value. I think it sort of managed to balance the two really well. It was a really cool campaign. Andrew, and what about you? What about an example that you've got that has yielded good results?
Well, I have a couple. I mean, I think platform metrics are important, and we look at that. But for me, it's really looking also at what happened after and beyond TikTok. We had an amazing experience joining the Museum Day on TikTok with the National Gallery in Singapore, and our team there had a great live stream all day and reaching new audiences. And that's a great objective by itself. But what I really love about this case is that after that, the National Gallery looked at how they could work with their youth members on creating content. So I really love when you bring, some stuff from the real world into TikTok and vice versa. Or another quick example, we've done some great work with KFC in Australia, and the team there, they thought about using TikTok to basically making it in the media, because they realized that journalists were seeking for news on TikTok and things they could talk about. So media coverage became a success metric. So I think these are, really interesting ways to look at how TikTok fits with everything else, and they're also like important result beyond just, the platform and engagement and all of that.
I love that. I love how it's fitting into traditional media even. That's really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Valerie, what about you? What about some examples?
I think the one that really stood out for me, even after quite a few years, was a piece of work called Create for Good by our VML1R office in Dubai. I think what really stuck with me was the fact that, at that time, when it was actually for TikTok's own launch in that country, and many years ago, when TikTok first started, there were a lot of people feel like it's a very frivolous platform. It's fun content, but is it going to be taken seriously? Like, can you really do something meaningful on it? And our team did just that, for Create for Good, where they use the nativeness of the fact that it's a platform that really celebrates music and dance move and challenges. But instead, they created a song and got the whole country behind learning sign language. Because like hundreds and thousands of people, a huge part of the population, depend on sign language to communicate with one another. So I think it was a brilliant way of using the strength of the platform that people normally love to do, the things they love to do, but to actually do something good and meaningful. So I think that really it's still something that's stuck in my head till this day.
I love that. You're right. It's that native use of TikTok, but flipping it on its head into sort of quite an unexpected usage. Very cool. My next question is, what would you say is the best way to get started on TikTok? Because we've obviously mentioned a lot of brands here that are using TikTok, but there's a lot that are looking at it and have no idea kind of how to get started. Valerie, I'll go back to you first.
Yeah, I think what's really exciting at the same time, I hate to say this, but sometimes we over-curate things with our clients. And I think the TikTok platform almost forces you to be really super spontaneous. And I always tell my clients, why don't you just sit in a room, be with people who who use this platform day in and out and have created tons of successful content, but come in with an open mind, right? Come in with an open mind and use them as your team, right? And together we can brainstorm something together. And the key thing is also to have a few things to test and learn. I think a lot of great pieces of content on TikTok, they become successful sometimes in its own spontaneous manner. It just happened to tick all the right boxes from an emotional point of view. It's fresh, it's interesting, it's surprising, but it's all the ingredients of being spontaneous. So I think that's sort of what I feel really excited about this platform is it will make my client be more willing to be playful and creative and fun.
I love that.
And see what works.
Pete, what about you? Do you agree, being spontaneous, testing and learning? What are your tips to getting started on TikTok?
Yeah, I really agree with Wow, but my suggestions for my client would be like, first they have to download the TikTok app first. And they need to try it. And they will see that TikTok has a content that match to that brand. And the more they see it, the algorithm of the TikTok will match their interest. And then after they see the content and creators and understand how they made the content, then I think like they will know how to put their brand in it. And this is what I have been told, like many of my clients, that you need to be a part of it first. You need to see, download it, and play for a few times. And now, like, all of them want to be a part of the TikTok vibe.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think, and to build on that, I think we're often coming from an angle or that, let's look at our content strategy and how as a brand we can go out there. But the platform is not really about that. It's more important the stimulus that we put out there for creator and people to get engaged on what you're doing. That's more success. That's more like the angle to go about it. So yes, there's a lot of test and learn, like Valerie said, but I think, you need to think about too early about how you're going with an always on strategy. A lot of brands are, trying a TikTok challenge and then they go, but it's not a touch and go strategy. So you need to think, what are the stimulus that I put up there on an ongoing basis so people can create around it? What type of relationship that I want to develop with creators? And then, mix it up with live stream or whatever is happening around your brand, that you can have like an overall strategy on the platform, like any other platform.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Don't just go in for one campaign and run away. Make sure you kind of stick to it and keep consistent. Before we go to the audience questions, I've got one more question for you guys, which is looking ahead. How do you think the influence of TikTok will, impact creativity, branding, creator-led campaigns? Andrea, I'll go for you first.
Well, for me, it's really democratizing creativity, because the platform is enabling people to use so many different tools and feature and be creative by their own. So it's amazing. And I think in the world of advertising, we're really used into very polished and nice video. And now it's putting creativity and that power to a lot more people's hands. So for me, I think it's a great thing that more people can be creative, and it's not only a small group of people that can do that job. So I think that's what's really bringing into the space, which is interesting.
Absolutely. Pete, you're nodding. Do you agree with that? What do you think the impact of TikTok will be on creativity?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I think they are the real game changer. Let's put it this way, like, before TikTok, there are many platforms, right? And it is pretty long, like, YouTube. But after, like, you see TikTok arrives and all the videos become shorter and shorter and more impact. And TikTok and its influencer, to me, is like changing the way how people watch a content and from a long form into a short and impact platform, which I think that's like one of the biggest game changing, and I think, like, to me, like, TikTok is not just a platform. It became a culture of Gen Z for real.
Yeah.
And also you can see also the other platform looking into short formats, right?
Yeah, and they
embarking on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Valerie, what about you?
No, I think it's a very exciting platform that almost forces our clients to really get into pop culture. A lot of brands, we keep getting briefs and clients, I want to be part of culture, but as long as they have the old media and channels that they're used to, it's very hard to try to become culture in old ways. So I think this platform almost forces them to let go and really be in pop culture. You can't be anywhere otherwise. But I think the most interesting thing is you can be part of culture, but still hold a lot of your brand truths, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of like amazing premium brands. You look at Burberry, look at Balenciaga, look at Hermes, they are doing what's really right for the brand, even being in culture. They don't really lose, in a way, they never lost their heritage. In fact, if anything, became trendier because of the platform.
Yeah, it's remembering who you are, but still using that, being involved in culture. Absolutely. I've got some questions from the audience now. So the first one is for Andriane. How do you look at TikTok so whatever happens there doesn't live in a silo?
So, and I think the example that I shared about how we look into, integrating people that a brand interact with into the content. We look at what happened on TikTok gets permeates across other channels or other platforms. I think especially in the influencer space, there are a lot of brands working with creators and influencers, and I don't feel like they are using what's getting created and putting it out there, even like outside the channel. So it's really like how we move everything, from TikTok to the other way around, and think about how it's not just living in that platform. So that's really how I try to look at it. So it becomes more interesting, and there's more life to what you're creating as well.
Absolutely. Next question's for Valerie. How can you guarantee success on TikTok when there's already so much content?
I think it really comes back to what I said in the beginning. That's why, in all kind of communication and advertising, it's about freshness, right? I mean, if you do a copy, then you're just going to get lost in the sea of sameness. And then you're going to have to rely on a lot of media dollars to get your content in front of the sea of sameness. So I think your best chance is to be different, is to do something really fun that really stands out, disrupt the channel, but still remain really true to the platform, so that it's not an unusual behavior that you're asking people to do when they're not used to. So I think, that's what creativity is all about, and that's exactly how all these, the influencers and the creators are getting success, because they were creative to begin with. So I think that's the key ingredient.
And really, that's
and also, Valerie, I'm sorry. And also, Valerie, if I can add, the algorithm of TikTok makes it interesting that it's not just about, yes, of course, if you put money in there, you can get more reach. But with, the discover feature and all of that, there's a lot of content that can be, that people can see that are of their interest, and that it's brought to them. So I think there's a great reason why it's so successful, because of the algorithm also.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that moving away from that sea of sameness, that should be what gets, creatives and the agencies excited, right? So it's this opportunity to do the fun stuff. Pete, last questions for you. What do you think TikTok can emerge into? Where's it going?
Wow, that's a big question. I think because since it was revolutionized the social media already, like changing from a long form into a short form, like what we see today. Like I said, I think TikTok is not just a platform anymore. It became a culture of Gen Z, and like what Val said, you can't avoid it. It is a pop culture. You just have to be a part of it, right? So I think we'll just have to see how it can emerge into into next and next, But we are pretty much exciting to see it for sure.
Absolutely. That's all we have time for. So I just want to thank Andrew and Pete and Valerie so much for sharing all your interesting insights. And I'll hand over to our next session.
As social media continues to develop and grow across Asia Pacific and elsewhere, brands are reviewing their e-commerce strategies and recrafting the role that social media platforms will play in driving sales in the coming months. The social platforms, of course, are keenly aware of the dramatic consumer shift to online sales over the last 2 years especially, and are quickly building products that accommodate this kind of demand. These opportunities include new features such as shops, messaging applications, live streaming, and influencers, as well as more conversion-centric ad products. Global social revenue is slated to grow 28% and more, and actually grow to as much as about $3.37 trillion by the year 2028. The recent Group M consumer eye study reported that the consumers who have seen an influencer brand, an influencer product or brand endorsement, 53% of that was actually in health, beauty, or personal care, the highest product category. And almost 38% of all the consumers who bought a product on live streaming have purchased, again, a product in health, beauty, or personal care product. So we thought it would be great if you can hear directly on social commerce from L'Oreal, one of the pioneers in this field among the beauty marketers. So joining us today is Vismay Sharma. Vismay is the president of L'Oreal South Asia Pacific, Middle East, North Africa. He's a 27-year-old veteran at L'Oreal, having joined the world's #1 beauty leader in India after completing his business school. He was one of the growth pioneers at L'Oreal in India and has since gone on to several international leadership positions, including assignments in the Paris headquarters, in Indonesia, in the UK and Ireland. So welcome, Vismay. Now, South Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa is not a common grouping that we see. So can you explain a little bit about this unusual grouping?
Hello, Ashutosh. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm really happy to be here and sharing some of our thoughts on social commerce. So it's true that South Asia, Pacific, Middle East, North Africa is slightly unconventional as a grouping for a region. But when we were putting this region together, we looked at different elements, and one of the key drivers for us was consumer insights and consumer expectation. And it goes back to old medieval times when trade routes took beauty, culture, language, religion from east to west and west to east. And we can even today see very strong appreciation of rituals, ingredients from one part of the world, from one part of this region into the other. And then when you put all of these together, this is a large part of the world. You've got 3 billion people in this part. That's 40% of the world population, very young, significantly younger than the rest of the world, hyper-connected, digitally active young people with economies that are very fast-growing, and beauty market, which is likely to double in the next 10 years to almost 110 billion. So when we put all of these things together, we felt that this was a very good opportunity, a good idea to put all of this together. And that's how we created SAPMENA.
Right. So let's switch our attention now to the topic of this chat, which is social commerce. So we at Group M are seeing a major increase in demand from brands on managing their social commerce. And therefore, in response, we are rapidly scaling our own infrastructure, whether it's data, tech, insights, activation of campaigns, and tracking and measurement. So when I look at it from a platform perspective or from a media planner perspective, typically what we do to get to great excellence in execution in social commerce is really mastering 5 elements of social commerce from our point of view. So paid social media, shops and marketplaces that are there on the social platforms, influencers and KOLs, which you've been doing a great job doing, live streaming, and of course, in the more recent past, the conversational commerce, the messengers and the chatbots, so getting excellence in all that. But it would be really interesting to look, you are a consumer-centric marketer, marketing beauty products. So how do you frame the opportunity for yourself? How do you define social commerce within L'Oreal?
So for us, Ashutosh, firstly, social commerce, any digital shopping activity which has some element of social interaction, where brands or individuals are incentivizing others to carry out a commercial activity, that for us, in a very simple term, is what social commerce is all about. We then go ahead and break it down into 2 different buckets. The first one is where brands directly operate on social platforms. And this is where you would find a large part of social commerce today, and that's where a lot of companies, a lot of brands stop. For us, a second part is where individuals play a very important role. And when I talk about individuals, we are talking about influencers, we are talking about our own employees like beauty advisors, and we've got thousands of them across the world. We talk about professionals like hairdressing salons, and we have a very strong partnership with them. And in fact, the way it works is we use tech platforms to enable these people, to incentivize them. We create content, we provide them some content, some training, etc. And then we let them create content and engage with consumers. So these are the two different buckets that we put everything in. For us, social commerce actually is a very good way. It increases the engagement significantly. It's a seamless journey from engagement to full conversion, and between upper funnel and lower funnel, and more marketing speak, it really reduces the distance between it. So makes it very exciting and very engaging for our brands and for our partners like influencers, content creators, etc.
Great. So let's now, given the area is expanding so fast, let's look at how we are building capabilities for social commerce in general. So normally for all the brands which now have, especially in the last 2 years, established quite a strong presence on e-commerce, there's clearly a shift from just using social platforms for upper funnel awareness and engagement to driving sales. So again, in response, what we've been doing at Group M is upskilling the agency teams, our social teams, enhancing our partnerships, and of course, refining all our excellence playbooks for activation. So as social products and platforms become more complex, we've established specialized media, social media buying teams, across the region to manage the details and, the intricacies of campaign activation and start optimizing the full funnel and a way to measure it. And that, of course, includes some of the work which we do with you also across the region. So it would be interesting for the audience to hear how you as L'Oreal are building some of these capabilities within the organization.
So this is one of the strengths of L'Oreal. When we see an opportunity, when we see something which can have sustainable consumer engagement and long-term value, we can very quickly get into that area. We can start testing, learning, scaling. And when social commerce started, there really were no playbooks. There was nothing out there. But the big advantage we have is we have brands in all different channels. We have brands in salons, we have in department stores, mass market, etc. So we could try different versions of social commerce. On the social platform side, we very quickly started engaging with the platforms. Like TikTok, we have a very close relationship and we try new things with them, and I'll give you some examples of that. And then within L'Oreal, since we are a global corporation, we had examples across the world, in China, in US, in Europe, and we could learn from everywhere and very quickly scale things. And the last part for us, of course, is the power of the individual, which I spoke about earlier as well. We've got long-standing relationships with salon professionals. That's where the company was formed 110 years ago. So we have strong relationship with hairdressers, with hairstylists. Equally, we have beauty advisors, thousands of them across our distribution, and it gives us great ways to create full O+O experience in our digital transformation journey. So broadly speaking, we built capability in 3 areas. The first one was, and this is probably one of the most important parts, is joint business partnerships with the platforms. Because we have to be close to platforms, we have to learn what are the new things coming about, and when there are opportunities, we really have to jump on them. So to give you an example, TikTok, when they were piloting TikTok Shop in Indonesia, we were one of the first brands to actually get onto it and test it out, and of course you know about that, and it was something really powerful. Equally with Facebook, we tried something last year when during COVID lockdown, all our stores were shut, our beauty advisors were at home. And we found that consumers were spending a lot more time online, on social commerce, etc. And we worked closely with the Facebook team to create an opportunity where, using Facebook Messenger, our beauty advisors could interact with the consumers and actually complete the transaction on the platform. This required training our beauty advisors, but it also required tech capability. So putting these two together really allowed us to create something very strong. So that was the first part. The second part is really around the organization itself. So we need to have internal resources. We need to have people who really appreciate the full value of the social channels. It's end to end, and there has to be strong appreciation for that. And you need to have dedicated resources in marketing, in digital, in IT, commerce, etc., etc. So this needs to be put together very clearly. We need to build long-term relationship with influencers and with content creators, and that was one of the things which was spoken about in one of the earlier sessions as well. You can't have transactional one-off deal and walk away from it. So a lot of time and energy was spent behind that to really build strong relationships, firstly on influencer and content creator side, but equally with hairdressing salons, with dermatologists, etc., and upskilling people wherever required. So upskilling was the third part, where for the entire organization we were doing a test and learn. So if we had good examples anywhere else in the world or in the region, we would scale them across very quickly. And of course, last but not the least, within the upskilling part is staying up to date. This is such a rapidly changing environment, which you know very well. We have to stay very close to all the partners. We have to stay on top of things and keep on training internal and external players on all of these new things that are coming together. So for us, if we look at the overall engagement for the consumer, if we see the shopping journey of the consumer, we think that social commerce and social platforms play a very, very important role. So this will continue to be an important area for us in the future as well.
That's really fantastic to hear, and just the scale and the width of the opportunity and the challenge. We'll come back to this when we look at what's going to happen in the future. But today, right now, let's just focus our attention on our partners for this session, which is TikTok.
Of course.
So as we know, it's really, for a market which was dominated by Facebook, especially in commerce, TikTok's really come up very, very quickly in the last couple of years and has become a major platform for us to work with. So what's the view at L'Oreal on the TikTok platform? What do you think needs to be done to really get to absolutely consistent world-class excellence in terms of using the platform? And what's your ask from them? What would you like to see which would make the brands do even better on this platform?
Well, firstly, it's true that TikTok has arrived on the social media scene a little bit more recently, but we have to acknowledge that in terms of the entertainment, the engagement it provides on the platform, it's really, really strong. And that's something which is super exciting. In our opinion, TikTokers are modern day artisans of digital content creation and entertainment creation. The big difference on TikTok, I think there are two primary differences. The first one, of course, is that the audiences that we find on TikTok are much younger than we see on a lot of other platforms. The second part, which is extremely interesting, is that it's the content and the interest in the content which drives the algorithm. So the algorithm will propose content to a viewer depending on what their interest areas are. So brands play lesser of a role there. And that's where the authenticity of the content starts becoming extremely important. And this links very well to commerce as well. We know that young consumers don't like brands talking to them. They want authentic content, they want to discover, they want to engage in things which are proposed through the voice of content creators or through influencers. They engage much better with these. The commerce functionality on TikTok can be very interesting, and it allows us to build advocates for our brands on one side, and equally to partner with creators to create affiliation models to reward them for selling on our behalf. Then there's shoppertainment. When you're consuming the content, it can be super interesting, and consumers can continue to discover, engage, and they can buy if they want. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just on the platform. At times, the engagement could lead to conversion somewhere else. And you would have seen in the video recently the Calendula Glow campaign that we ran in 5 Southeast Asia markets. And this was a very interesting campaign, because here we had over 300 TikTok content creators that we partnered with in all of these markets. This was not really social commerce per se. This was more a brand engagement opportunity, and we had very strong results. We had over 8 billion engagement, 8 billion views of our videos. We had very high engagement rates. We could clearly see a spike on all our own platforms as well, and we could see the engagement rates were going much higher. And in some cases on D2C channels, etc., there was an impact. D2C and in marketplaces, there was a clear impact on our business as well. So that's that. I think it's TikTok plays a very important role. In terms of key asks, so the first one, of course, it's important to put it out there. We have a very close partnership with TikTok, and each time we have a review meeting with them, the only thing I say is each time you have a good idea, tell us. We want to partner with you, and we'll try together. And if it works, very good. We'll scale fast. If it doesn't work, then we'll fail fast and we'll move to something else. So the first one for us would be the TikTok Shop. TikTok Shop in Indonesia, which is currently only in Indonesia and UK, we think it really creates an end-to-end seamless experience for the consumer. And the sooner it goes into more markets, the better it is, and it can be really interesting. The second thing is all about analytics. So we do get some data, some analytics, but I think if we get more analytics and more data, it will allow us to really see which part, how well our brands are engaging, and it will allow us to maximize the engagement with the content and with the brand. And the third part, of course, is more opportunities, more ideas in terms of gamification in particular. But if there are other areas in which we can partner, we are, of course, always very happy.
Great to hear that. So let's, going back to your previous question, let's just look at what the future holds for this. So you're in the beauty category. AR and VR applications are becoming pretty big. We've started doing some experimental work with TikTok as well, and there are similar partnerships with the studios at Snap or Meta, etc. And we clearly see that that's a massive opportunity. In your category, there's already some interesting work going on. So why don't you talk about that as well today?
Yeah, of course. You know, at L'Oreal, so we have the ambition of being the #1 beauty tech company in the world. So as you're aware, L'Oreal spends a lot in terms of the conventional science. We have 4,000 scientists and we have very strong science, but we want to augment this science with technology. And we want to scale it, and we want to exponentially take it across the world and maximize it with technology. If we talk about augmented reality, so way back in 2018, we acquired a company called ModiFace, which is a leader in AR, VR. And using this, we have created something called virtual try-ons, which means a consumer can actually try a new look on makeup or a new shade of lipstick or hair color, etc. And this allows us to create even more engaging shopping experiences and engagement experiences for our consumers. So this is something that we've integrated in a number of platforms, and that works very well. We have done it on some e-retailer platforms as well, and that gives us an opportunity. And we saw with one e-retailer in Southeast Asia, just last year, there were over 12 million virtual try-on sessions. And we could see conversion rates are significantly higher when consumers are going through something like this. And it goes beyond just virtual try-ons. So we have, for example, on Lancome, we have a shade finder where you have a database of 22,000 skin tones, and you take a 360-degree virtual photograph, and that allows, with artificial intelligence and the database that we have, creating a foundation which is perfect for a consumer. Or for La Roche-Posay, we have something called Spot Scan, where a photograph, and with the help of artificial intelligence and all the database that we have, we can actually make a recommendation to a consumer on what is the right regime for her or him in terms of their skin. So, like I said earlier as well, social, in our opinion, will continue to play a very significant part in the brand engagement, in the consumer journey in the future as well. And we will continue to make investments. We will continue to upskill ourselves. Overall, at the level of L'Oreal, like I said earlier, we are a company that believes very strongly in science. And we think that we are very ready to, as a beauty tech company, to provide really interesting, engaging, technology-enabled experiences for our consumers, and we can scale them up very quickly. And if you look at SAPMENA, it's a part of the world, like I said earlier, where you have young consumers, hyper-connected, very digitally savvy, which is a perfect combination, because that means within this part of the world, we can create some really great examples, as we're already doing with TikTok, which can then be scaled up and taken everywhere. But important thing is, behind that, you need organization, you need tech, and of course, very importantly, we need people. So at all points in time, we are out there looking for interesting talents who would want to come here, have a big impact, and an impact not only within the countries or SAPMENA, but across the world.
Yeah. Thanks, Vismay. I mean, that's some really fascinating and inspiring experiences. I think it's really exciting time to come for the future of social commerce. And we really look forward to lots of learning from this journey and some great excellence and lots of inspiration to people who are getting onto social commerce in a big way. Let's switch to some of the questions. So you were talking about talent. Where do you see the next generation talent in L'Oreal coming from? Do you still hire from traditional companies or tech companies, or how?
I think in terms of talent, it would be fair to say more than where people are coming from. The question is, where do they want to go? Okay. It's the ability of an individual to be curious, to upskill, reskill. You know, people who are in workplace today, and particularly young people who are entering workplace now, unlike us who've been there for 25, 30 years, there will be a very strong need to upskill, to reskill yourself every year. Every year or every few years, and if we have people who are curious, because within the organization we see people who came from the more traditional marketing background, yes, who've learned and who are really, really strong on digital, and equally we see people who come from digital backgrounds, and they learn other elements of marketing, they learn business. So I think it's we would have people from everywhere, far more than their background. We look at the individual and their caliber, their interest, and their ability to learn new things. And if that works, of course, this is a place. It's like I said, we are a very curious, very agile company. Each time we see an opportunity, we jump at it, and we want to try things and test and learn and scale. We need people who feel the same way. So if they have the same mindset, same curiosity, of course, we are very happy to take them from anywhere.
Great. So thanks, Vismay. Thank you for some really interesting and inspiring examples that you shared and your journey on social commerce.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
So on that note, I'm going to hand it back to Christina.
Thank you, Ashutosh and Vismay, for sharing those great insights. A couple of observations that I pick up on based on that previous conversation would be the importance that social commerce will play, not just today, but also in the future, as revenue is forecasted to grow by over 28% per year. This clearly demonstrates a big opportunity for brands. And then, as Vismay was saying, the fact that social commerce through both brands and through people is enabling shorter and more seamless purchase journeys. And then, of course, TikTok is connecting entertainment and engagement to help fuel that process. So before we wrap, I just want to say a big thank you for everyone at home for tuning in this morning. And thank you for posting all your questions. Sorry we didn't get to all of them. I hope that we've been able to inspire you and that you learn something new when it comes to what's next for creators and social commerce. I also want to say a big thank you to all of our speakers here today. So Sam Singh, Justin Kay, Samuel Vanel, Ming Wei, Sana Britzman, Carl Kluck, and Adrienne Leclerc. And then we have Thasson Boniato Pete, Valerie Madden, of course, our moderator, Charlotte McKellany, and lastly, Ashutosh and Vismay for a brilliant fireside chat. I also want to give a special shout out to our production partner, Branded, that we worked on as part of this event. We are going to be publishing a summary article for some key highlights on thedrum.com tomorrow, and I'm going to be circulating the article. That will be an on-demand link as well, so everyone can join who were unable to join this morning. You can share it to colleagues as well to tune in. So thank you once again for joining us, and we hope that we can welcome you back again very soon. Bye, everyone.